Iryna Ivaschenko is currently the resident representative and chief of office of the International Monetary Fund in Hungary. Ms. Ivaschenko has held many prominent positions both in Kiev and abroad. She has formerly worked at the World Bank Economic Development Institute in Kiev and in the Ministry of Economy of Ukraine.
I think we should set the record clear from the very beginning.
Laszlo Balassi is a member of the board of governors of Amchan. He's holding a top position of a leading bank group in Hungary. Mr. Balassi has over 17 years of finance and banking experience, mostly focused on emerging markets in general and Central Europe in particular.
So, I thought I'd ask you, what are your impressions of Budapest?
It's a beautiful city. I think it was a very smart policy to start with, to create offices, to establish offices in every country. We have a lending arrangement. It feels much different on the ground, speaking to real people, starting from the authorities, but also, the drivers, the nanny, the shopkeepers. And I always have in mind how you're doing, how is country, how is support for the policies. Yeah. So it feels very, very different.
Well, I'm glad you're settled here.
It's a difficult step to reach agreement, but it's much more difficult to actually follow through and implement everything faithfully.
What IMF thinks about its own mission? What is IMF's mission? And how has that changed? Why is the IMF more flexible now?
Well, first of all, we are also a living organization, and there has been tremendous changes both in the run-up to this crisis when the great big party was going, and we were mostly in the surveillance mode when we have a responsibility to our membership, which is virtually every single country in the world. Probably you would want to know whether we learned from our previous experience, because it's true we have been criticized for experience in Asia, and I would say only fool doesn't learn from its own experience, and it's always easy to criticize at the hindsight, but the reality is that we are never in the country or in the region that is doing particularly well.
How much flexibility will there be to sit down with a new government to achieve the same things? I think everybody wants to achieve the same things, and everybody appreciates the IMF role in stabilizing the country. But there are different views as to how to get there, I think.
Absolutely. I must underscore that this program is also, it was not imposed by the IMF or the European Union. We are, by the way, in it always together. It is 100%. Every single measure, the detailed composition of how the government wants to achieve the fiscal sustainability was proposed by the government. And that is our approach, is that it needs to be owned by the country. Then it has much more degree of success. When the government is putting the package on the table, of course we are looking at it from the point of view of a good policy that eventually will produce sustainable results and boost growth and let us, eventually get out of here. We're looking at quality fiscal measures, such as structural fiscal measures that produce long-lasting results, maybe even later, starting 2010, 2011. I'm talking the pension reform, the tightening of the subsidy system.
The municipality structure, for instance.
The welfare reform. These steps internationally also showed to produce long-lasting results and long-lasting savings, rather than just taking an ad hoc budget cuts. We are always against it.
Would the IMF be prepared to increase the amount of support to Hungary temporarily, even beyond what it has already done?
We can react if any force majeure circumstances arise. And we've proven that we do it quickly when needed and as much as needed.
And what would you say are the key structural reforms that would need to be implemented, in your view, to get the country on a more sustainable and competitive footing? Let's set aside the fact that this program is a crisis program.
Perhaps reform of the public administration to make it more efficient. It will produce savings for the budget going forward. It will also also tackle the issue of reducing their administrative burden and regulatory burden. Usually these two go hand in hand.
You sound like a member of Amchan, I have to say. We have the same exact discussion. I think a lot of people are saying the same things, and now the current government, I think the Bainai government with Peter Osko have done good things on fiscal sustainability, but there are so many more issues to tackle, and they only have a short amount of time, and I think in this short amount of time they've done
remarkably
pretty well,
I would say,
in terms of addressing the near-term issues.
Yeah.
But there's so much more, I think, that needs to be done, and what Amchan thinks needs to be done in terms of getting this country on a more competitive footing. But certainly I think that the help of the IMF is well recognized, and we certainly appreciate the IMF's support.